techno, Hollywood.
Okay, so should we start?
Yeah, I want to start by throwing everything out I own.
And clap.
Yeah, I'm so sick of stuff.
Yeah. So first of all, Happy New Year. This is the first one in this year.
Sad. We were back, but we're not back.
We're back in a way, like it's episode 23.
Yeah.
It's 2024, and we're adjusting levels. If anyone's watching, we're a little bit in a different, I guess.
This is it's show business setup.
It's a show business setup. Yeah. And yeah, welcome back, I guess.
Yeah. And we just got back from Coachella.
Yes, but we could also start to recap what happened between this one in a nutshell, I guess. So
we could do two where we recap the.
No, just put it in one. It's a little fun. I just tell you because I mean, also although I've been here like in LA since end of December, we actually didn't hang out that much. I mean,
no, I tried to avoid you.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And who doesn't? And we basically, I mean, January was really slow. It was just getting used to hanging out here and enjoying a little bit of the good weather compared to Berlin. But then in February, everything started with which I like here, with the award seasons in a way. Like you had the Grammys, of course. And that was interesting because like last year, a lot of people came into the city, lots of events, parties. And so there was one party that I'm just remembering right now was kind of sticking out because I was walking around I don't know who, it was like some brand like threw a little party in some apartment bungalow at the Chateau Marmont. And we're just hanging out and then walked in at GQ. I was actually GQ, I think. Anyways, and then I see one guy like sort of walking in front of me, just yelling at people in a leather jacket. There was a semi-dressed girl in front of him, meaning like she's basically naked and just walking. I'm like, didn't think of anything. And then of course he turns around and it's like Kanye West with his ski mask on.
He was just in a sock?
Yeah, exactly. No, he had this weird white ski mask on, just yelling at people.
He's shorter than you'd think, right?
Yeah, but he's pretty big, but he stood right in front of me, like pretty bullish, pretty wide and pretty big dude, but he's not tall. Let's put it this way, yeah. And then he's just
big head.
Yeah. And he started yelling at other people and just being Kanye, I guess. And then apparently people told me he's been hanging around the chateau for weeks, just harassing people, like hanging out.
How do you know it's him with the sock?
Yeah, that's the thing. But you could tell it because the funny thing is it's his voice, obviously. It sounds like a record immediately, Like these people that you hear first, you don't see them, and they're like, this sounds like a record. Like some friend told me a story. She heard like Jay-Z talk around the corner, but she didn't see him. But just the way he talked, and she's like, that's Jay-Z, These people have these voices.
That happened to me with Jermaine Dupri.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
See, but Jermaine Dupri, I wouldn't even know the voice that much. I mean, I've heard, he's been a rapper.
Don Chi-Chi? No?
Yeah. No, but that was my little Kanye story at the Grammys. And then we went to some party and Diplo. We met Diplo, which was nice.
Nice.
And Joplyn also met Diplo. They talked a little bit. He's a quite interesting character. I mean, I've been following him for years, obviously, but what he talked about, like, he's so into music and into subcultures. He was talking about like some new techno movement, like 140 BPM hyper rave stuff going on in like Kenya in Africa, like, so he's there in the mix and just trying to discover new scenes, That's what he did 2005. He did put the whole baile funk on the map, and he brought it to Berlin. Like he was DJing in a bar in Berlin 2004, like playing baile funk. And
that's my favorite Diplo. Diplo with the suit and the BlackBerry. That's
no. So he's got it, and then he DJed some after party that he invited us, but then it was just got too hectic. And what's crazy was like the Grammys. I don't know if people like. I mean, this is a while ago now, but there was flooding. People couldn't get to the shows. Everyone was late. Like downtown.
What do you mean flooding?
Downtown was flooded. Remember, there was
the rain.
The rain, and people couldn't you saw downtown. The streets were literally flooded in LA, and then people were late. And like I've seen some videos that people. I didn't go to the actual Grammys. It was kind of mad, so there's all these weather catastrophes. And the next flooding happened in Miami Music Week. So in March. we went to Miami Music Week.
Maybe you control the weather.
Yeah, exactly. I control the weather. I wish. And then also same thing. Ultra Festival one day got canceled because of extreme weather.
Yeah.
And also flood. Like people were literally swimming in the streets. Like in Miami. Like there's some footage where it's like a meter high and people are just like swimming in Miami downtown streets. And Miami was interesting. Here's another funny story. So she played like Joplyn played. We had meetings, and it's always a good thing to go down there because it's like you meet a lot of other labels, managers, your booking agents. Like it's probably one of the biggest conferences, so to say, for electronic music. The Miami Music Week, and there's also a bunch of like panels and there's like Meta and Spotify throw parties and events. Like it's always worth going down. So I always stay a week down in Miami in March, and then like last year, but this one she played a little showcase at a restaurant called Delilah, and then
they have that here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's they have 4 or 5 now on. I think it started here in LA. I feel.
Hey, turn your sound off.
Yeah, no, it is off actually. Should be off. Anyways, here we go. And then basically she played like this was more like a restaurant, like a showcase, half an hour, like a little set thing. And then all of a sudden there was like this buzz going on in the restaurant, and there's like, hey, Drake's here. I'm like, what? And then sure enough, like just like 4 or 5 tables down, Drake was sitting there, and I was like, okay,
taller than you'd think.
Yeah, he's actually that he was sitting at. And then I was like, there was only one security guard, and then like him and 2 of his buddies. But the thing is like so I watched Drake a little bit during his show, like just to see like if he's actually realizing that there's a live act performing. He didn't really, because he was just looking at his.
So what was Joplyn performing?
Yeah, Joplyn was performing.
So Drake is aware of Joplyn.
In a way, kind of like let's put this.
It's entered his ears.
Exactly. We spin the story like the next days. I was like, yeah, we played a private party for Drake on Wednesday. Yeah. That's how I was spinning the story, which was kind of true because it was a private party. It was invite only by music distribution, and Drake showed up. Then turns out like I think he sort of co-owns or something of this restaurant, so he probably not had to be there, but maybe he has to do some PR or whatever and hang out at this restaurant. But it didn't look like he had a lot of fun. Like he was literally looking at his phone like for an hour straight, not eating anything. The food was actually good at Delilah, really good. And then and his 2 friends were also just looking at their phones. There were no girls, there were no party, there were no not what you would expect, like rolling deep with the crew and just throwing a party.
Yeah.
It was more like he just went there to eat, but he didn't eat, and then he just left after an hour.
Maybe he wants less attention. It's not like P. Diddy rolling in with champagne bottles.
Yeah. P. Diddy has a different problems. Anyway, so so that was a little.
But think about if you're Drake, like how much attention you suck out of the room. He's probably just like, ah.
That's why he was also on the side. It wasn't even the best table. It was like if someone didn't know, like you wouldn't have even.
I like that. I like that he's trying to be in the cut as much as Drake can be.
I know exactly. But I think
hat down.
Yeah, it was hat down. If I didn't know, I would have walked past that table. Because there's nothing going on at that table. Yeah. It wasn't like a spotlight,
Yeah. What's the point of attention in real life? You get no likes. Yeah, do the attention online.
Exactly. Yeah. You got to play it. And probably he just wanted to have a quiet dinner.
He might, because I think he might be part of that Delilah group thing, because I think he goes to the one here a lot.
I mean, he's like so invested in all these. I keep finding out, like we played a little club in Toronto, not a club, like a pretty fairly big venue. Turns out, of course, he owns it or half of it. And I think he's invested like pretty smartly in the space he knows, live entertainment, in venues, in clubs, in restaurants, in anything.
Well, you're not going to put it back in the music business.
No, it's not true. Actually, I just saw a report yesterday. Music business, if you look at the numbers, everything's like 10 or even 12% up. Like we're talking
in
live
aggregate
business, we're talking master publishing, all parts of the music business. So it is a growing business, and it's actually probably not I don't know, like we'll see how far it goes. Like there's a saturation point at some point with streaming and all this stuff, but I think it's actually a good time to invest in music. But also like the major labels, they're still cutting. I mean, Universal, everyone's firing people because they want to for the bottom line, I guess, and for the stock market.
Well, the revenue comes from, it's harder than ever to break through and make money, but the aggregate pie keeps churning out dollars.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think like if you have a good idea, a good community around you, a bunch of interesting artists, to start your little small indie label, like all these labels, Columbia, Epic, all these big artists, they all started small, you know, like as one or Motown for whatever. Right. I didn't name any big label, which is big, Def Jam, whatever. They started with a bunch of friends with a musical vision. Let's do something different. Let's screw the rest. Let's not care about.
Or no one would sign them.
Or no one would sign them. That's the main thing. And nowadays it's even harder to get signed because like you must have like whatever 10 million monthly listeners to be even attractive for a major label.
Yeah.
And by that time, there's so many options right now, right? I mean, that's a whole discussion that
but would Drake be Drake without that major label thing and Lil Wayne and all that?
All that
it's hard to know.
It's hard to know. There's now for the first time a few artists that started out indie, that stayed indie, that became really big. So then you can really argue, okay, it is possible without a major label to become very big, but not pop music, stadium, radio big. But in your genre, big. But that genre is big enough nowadays globally to sustain a really healthy career. So this is also the questions we're asking us right now as Team Joplyn. You know, like, what do we do? Do we stay indie? There's a few, of course, there's labels like we're talking to, and they're talking to us. They want to talk to us because they want to, like, every label wants to get in at a time where the profit is in the purchase, right? So like you want to get in not too early, but also not too late.
Yeah.
You know? So that's the timing is right. You know. So
I remember the EMI. It was either EMI or Warner Publishing. I was talking to, and I was like, "Why don't you get in now? It's 50. You could have this for 50, 50 grand." And they're like, "We'd rather wait till it's 300 and pay when it's you know more secure." And I'm like,
because the numbers.
I'm like, because that extra 250 for them. Is a safer bet when it's working.
Exactly. It's all risk management and risk business in a way. Right?
Yeah.
But then also you feel like you have as a manager and if you're a production company, you take all that risk, you put in the sweat equity. It's really tough to also give it up then. But also like it's really tough to be fair, like, and every entrepreneur knows this, to have the cash flow always, to manage all these moving particles and all these moving things, you know, like, so it's a tough thing. It's not for everyone. Like
it's a dying business in some ways, but it's maybe those who are left will probably thrive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to be really resilient and to be comfortable with uncertainty. Yeah. Even more now, I feel like.
It's not
what I'm learning, at least.
Right. There's not just like easy cash flows. Yeah. It's like, it's your boots on the ground, you're scrappy, you're a team member, and you're kind of co-founding it with these artists.
Yeah, I guess it's like a startup.
It's a startup,
It's basically the same, like, that's why I'm trying to learn a lot when talking to startup business, because they go to they're more business focused and they sell something different, generally, some app or whatever. But in essence, of course, we're selling art, so to say.
But you're also selling, like Facebook, all those startups where they built an audience. So like, we just need an audience first, then we'll monetize. And that's kind of what arts is now.
That's what it is about now. Like, I feel like it's the old saying, like, you gotta almost build a community first and then monetize the community indirectly or later. You can't be worrying about monetization immediately, but then you have to have the long breath and the financial situation to afford to build a community, sort of, you know, like that's.
It's kind of like what's happened with all investment, like even with interns now. Just to be an intern, you kind of need to be a wealthy kid.
Exactly. So but like, how do you you can come intern for us in New York. Like,
exactly.
Okay, then you need $5,000 a month to just live. In New York, you know, like, and then you can be an intern for free. You know,
right.
Like, so the ones that intern really want it. It's almost you have to have the prerequisite to be able to afford it.
It's kind of sad when you think about that, because there's like less of the.
Yeah, but then do you need to be an intern at a major label, or are you just like in your little town finding the right people, doing it all online, and then, you know, like,
if you have the good attitude and you intern anywhere, people would love to have you, but the interns that come through now are like, when can I be CEO on the second week?
Yeah, a lot of entitlement for like.
Yeah.
It's also like I keep finding like it's really hard to find the right people and good people to work with. I think that's in every business. I mean, you tell me your experience with with hiring and firing people.
Oh, I think it's always historically been the hardest thing. I think for a while, entertainment was lucky in that like it was so like, how do you get to this person? Like, I'll just not like all people who got to you, who knocked on a door, who begged, like wanted it so bad, they kind of like self-selected and they're like, all right, you can do the job. And then it usually work out. But like the hiring process, now that like entertainment goes through the hiring process and like posting the job, it's a nightmare. There's no self-selection and they don't understand like what it takes.
And it takes and you have to take 10 interviews to have like a little minor job in a way nowadays in entertainment. So it's like and that's why.
And
like,
also the people who are really good.
They probably
they're doing it themselves.
They're doing it themselves, or they go into tech, or they go into a real startup, or they don't necessarily go into show business or music business. I think there's a lack of really good people in music that are being groomed and sort of being mentored in a way.
Well, like if you have a flair for doing social media or promotion or something, you probably have the flair to be an artist, and you're probably making art, and you're probably like, why do I need you? You probably already have like more followers than the company that's like trying to hire you. You're like, let me just keep going over here.
So anyways, that was Miami. I mean, of course it was a bunch of other things too, but these little stories just come to my mind right now because that's where we are with the Joplyn project, like focusing a little bit on the US market. That's why we stayed here. She also wrote and co-wrote with some other artists and also other, don't want to give away too much, other songwriters and
Diane Warren.
No, not Diane Warren, but it's like there's like a whole album coming together. The sound is being developed, like a little bit more. And I think the biggest one for us that we can talk about is definitely Coachella. That was what we sort of knew about Coachella in December. So how it works is like, for people who are wondering, like Coachella, basically you can't really apply or anything. Like the Coachella team, and meaning like Golden Voice and their partners, they pick you and then they sort of send you an offer which you can take or leave. The offer is okay, it's fair, whatever, but it's also depends obviously, like if you're like a headliner superstar artist or like a newcomer, but then you can look at the offer. You have like a week or so to respond, and then obviously we took the offer, and made it work.
It's a huge kind of certified stamp.
Exactly. So for us it was like, we were hoping like to do this like down the road, like in 2-3 years, like I think that feels right. So for it to come that early in a way in her career was really surprising, but also like we didn't turn it down. Obviously.
Take it while you got it. You can always do it again in 3 years.
Exactly. And then once you do it, like you have to wait. You can't do it every year, obviously.
Right.
Which is fine, but we took a very like early spot, but just to be on that poster, on that lineup, and to say like you played Coachella both weekends is interesting, and it's also like a very big selling point for like other promoters, other people. Like it's probably the festival of festivals. I mean, there's not a lot that can compete with that,
And you're just saying like it's a way to differentiate yourself from the pack. You're like, this artist is just a little bit better in a way.
It's like we played Coachella, you didn't. Type of thing. So far. So no, that was good. I mean, obviously we had to prepare for it. There's a lot of logistics involved. I mean, it's out in the desert. I've only been one time with the Booker Shade guys, 2013, I realized, 11 years ago. Whole different experience. I was just hanging out with them in and out for one day. The festival back then was only one weekend. Now it's like 2 weekends. It's also the similar lineup. It's the same lineup, the same playing times. It's just different surprise acts here, the guests.
Different problems.
Different problems, yeah. And then just to get the team down and then to register the crew, then you have very limited guest list. Everyone wants to be on. Just to organize all that stuff. Like I just realized like it's a job in itself. Like of course, like as a manager, you should be involved and you have to be involved. But then it's like sometimes I wish we could have afforded a real tour manager type of thing and like a production manager, so to say, who who takes care of all that stuff, because it's like running a tight operation. Everything has to be on point. There's so many moving particles again, you know.
So many messages
and this and that. A lot of stuff can go wrong. The network doesn't work. Then it's in the desert, right? There's sandstorms, and then just accommodation down there, like in Indio and Palm Springs, and I know that area inside out now because I looked at the map so many times. I know all the little towns now, like down there. So, but it's nice. I mean,
it's for your retirement when you go out there.
Yeah. So we went down the first weekend, which was interesting, and there's a dinner called The Night Before, which we were invited to, like Natalie and me, like the management team. They interestingly don't invite artists, because that's a whole different. They only invite like the managers, the agents, the business people, and it's like a AEG Golden Voice dinner in the Rose Garden at the Coachella grounds, like 300-400 people, like with a chef and like a table beautifully done, like an amazing dinner and drinks. And we felt pretty special, because it's like, I didn't know a lot of people there. It's interesting because sometimes, like in Europe or Germany or ADE, you go into a room, a dinner, like after a while, you know the people, right? But this was like, I only knew a couple of agents I met before, a lot of new people, a lot of Golden Voice people, of course. And then I happened to sit next to a guy who basically runs the Red Rocks in Denver.
Oh, wow.
Which was really interesting, to just the logistics there. And he told about how he built up. He has like 3-4 clubs, and then he works with AEG. He's part of AEG now. And so it was like, I'm learning so much about the live business, how it works, and what the real hard facts are, you know. And then there was a Thursday. Then, of course, just hanging around the fest was nice. She did a show on Sunday, the first weekend. Went really well. I'm a little bit of technical problems here and there, because you need to get adjusted to that Yuma stage, and it's like a air-conditioned stage, which is nice.
So it was a haven.
A haven, yeah. I mean, we're talking
Spoiler, I got to go to weekend two.
Exactly,
so,
weekend two.
Yeah.
We all went with the friends and the homies, and then after Coachella, we drove back, and she did a show at the El Rey Theater together with Barry Can Swim as a direct support act. That's was also, I believe, a Golden Voice show. And that was a whole different thing, because the El Rey Theater is beautiful, first of all. Like, it's a whole different production. Like, it's a theater. People go there. The showtime was 8 o'clock or 8:30, p.m. It's early. It's not a club. But it's very professional. It's like the difference between like hard tickets that we talked about, like a theater. People go there on a Tuesday night, on a Thursday night.
Yeah, for this. Yeah.
For this. Like, it's dedicated fans of Barry Can Swim, hopefully a few of Joplyn. And then it was packed already. The crowd was there when she started, and she had a great time there too. Like, it's just like, it was so different than the Yuma rave DJ tent at Coachella, like where she built up the audience. By the end of a set, it was kind of more full, because it's a huge tent, obviously. But then the live thing, like, it's interesting that we're in those two worlds, like one is the club DJ world, and the other one is the live ticket, like music fans, lovers set of where it's like, people go for the music, and not to say people don't go for the music clubs, but also the club thing is like, people also go for the club experience, to have fun, to get lit.
Yeah, so, they're happy just to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this one, so she likes both, and she also changed her music and her set, of course, for both worlds, But that was interesting that we could do these things, and then it was back to Coachella, and then we drove. Yeah, we drove together on Friday.
Yeah.
Friday. So Thursday night, it was the El Rey show. We drove in on Friday, and then we can tell us, like, we got settled in Palm Springs, which was nice. And then, what did we? Yeah, we actually got it's a whole different thing. You need to get your passes at a different place. Then you need to get parking passes. It's somewhere, then you need to find the parking spot at Coachella. Like, it's a whole ordeal to go there.
It was like my third time going, but the easiest. I felt like they had it down, and they were just so much more, like, way less passed out people. Yeah. Like, the parking was much easier.
Yeah. It's very professional at this point.
Yeah, you had mentioned that AEG bought Golden Voice, and I don't know. I went in 2011, 2016, and then now. I don't know when they made that purchase, but each time it's just gotten more and more slick, which is good and bad. Like, it's also like everything is very expensive when you're like black coffee was $10 and you're like, okay.
Cold brew was 13 or something.
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
That's
I thought $5 or $6 is a lot already.
And so you could feel it. It feels very, corporate, which I'm okay with. It's fine, but like I could see how some people might feel this is like, squeezing out some fans.
I mean, it's open news. I mean, they didn't sell out the weekend one as quickly as normally. So that has, I'm sure it's due to a lot of factors, like the world economy, the world situation, but also like, because it's been sort of, it's been around too long now. And maybe the 2 weekends and the second weekend, from what I heard, didn't really sell. I mean, it felt still busy enough, like, let's put it this way. But
it's still 100,000 people, I felt like.
But it was like, there's been some, of course, but that's not only Coachella, like a lot of big festivals and everyone's sort of in the live business, although the numbers are good, I guess, like it's still, but you can see that it's harder to like, basically for these promoters to convince people to put up their hard-earned money, to buy all these tickets, because it's not only the tickets, it's really to get there, to live there, to eat. Like a weekend can really run you deep.
Yeah, it's a big investment to go, for sure. And maybe it's just becoming like something that's been around for a long time, and it's just reaching its natural cycle where it's just not, it's
peaking. Maybe I think could have peaked, but
it's still magical. Like when you're there, you look around, you see the mountains, you see this like the best stages I've ever seen.
I know,
like it's insane.
That's the thing. Like once you can hate before, after, whatever, but once you're there, I feel like we got into the vibe and the spirit, and it was like I had at least some really magical and really inspirational musical moments where it was like, wow, that this can only happen here. And then just to walk one stage next and get the next experience, like there's so much you could see it. And also like I saw some stuff on weekend 2 that I didn't get to see on weekend 1. So it was actually good that there's 2 weekends, for me at least, personally.
Yeah.
And then I think we should talk about the Friday night experience that we went. So like there's all these, which I wasn't really aware of. I guess, of course, if you live here in LA and if there's all these different crazy after parties at Coachella, right? There's a whole festival called Neon Carnival, or something, Neon Festival, Neon Carnival, which is happening the first weekend on a Saturday, which I think is 10,000 people outside of India, like where people just from all over just come for that festival, like,
and don't even go to Coachella.
They don't even go to Coachella.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's like, it all starts because Coachella sort of shuts down around midnight, I guess, 11, 12 normally, like the main festival. I think the Sahara tent is open a little longer, and then people sort of are still in the vibe, in the mood to go out, right? So every weekend has different after parties, and then there's our friends from Frameworks. They throw after parties in the airport hangar. They also run to the Sound Club and the Spotlight, and also run the Yuma tent and stuff. So they do after parties, and then there's a estate called the Zenyara Estate. They throw after parties, and that's where we
kept calling it
to.
Zendaya.
Yeah, I know. But I think it was Zenyara Estate.
Yeah,
and it's like, some after parties you can buy tickets to, like I think the open ones or the public ones, but some you can't. Like it's just an after party. You need to be invited. You need to know someone. And we're not talking small little after party. We're talking thousands of people. I think the airport hangar has like 6,000 people. The Neon Festival has 10,000 people.
How many at Zendaya?
Zenyara had maybe, I don't know what
2,000?
Yeah. I was thinking like 2,000.
Yeah.
Which was basically
maybe 1,000.
Got invited in.
Because maybe less.
Maybe less. It's very exclusive. I think like the max 1,000 people.
Max, yeah.
And it's like it's part of the Tao Group and also Frameworks.
That's right, yeah.
And another company, I forgot the name.
Was the party part of the Tao Group or just like the venue?
I think they probably invited and sold the tables to their clients. I feel like. So what it was like that, it's estate. I mean, you talk about it like it was.
Yeah, I mean, it was like
It's not a house. It's not a mansion. It's like a real estate.
Yeah, if you had come to the early comedy bunker shows at the mansion, this is like that times probably 100. Like I'm not even joking. Like just take everything and make it 100 times larger. And
we've been to some nice houses in Beverly Hills.
This isn't even a house. This is like It's a venue.
Yeah.
It's to call it a house is just crazy.
I think estate is the right name because like the way we got in, we used a side crew entrance, and
there's
they're
a
like,
helipad.
I know they're like, just park next to the helipad, and we're like, okay. And then on the way, drive up to the back entrance, to the kitchen entrance, so to say. Like we just were allowed to go through the kitchen, and we're talking the kitchen. You could play a basketball game in the kitchen.
I mean, the pool was the size of like a football field.
Even more, it was a artificial lake that they put in there. Yeah.
So it was nuts, but it was really cool to show up with you and Joplyn and just go in and see how it all get set up. Because she was the opening act there, and like watch the crew talk and them being like, all right, this is going to be done by 4. People are not going to leave there. And there's like giving like a team speech to all these like servers and security and stuff. And like, I would say the expenses to put on that thing were $1 million.
Yeah. Was crazy,
easy, and then they had
also
the sponsors.
The light shows. There was like a laser
open
light
bar.
show, and then there was a big stage, and it was like the production was like crazy. It was insane, and also like and just the vibe. It's all only invite only, like, and then it started right after Coachella. I think it started at 11 p.m. So just again, then there was then later on the backstage area, the green room was like. They had tennis courts there, of course. They had a whole, I think, 2 to 3 basketball fields at the other side. And then there was like a beach, an artificial beach, where there was another beach party with a bunch of DJs, and there was the main stage. I mean, if you Google it, Zanyara Estate, like there's stuff online, like it's mind-blowing.
That was like a really cool experience to see like the other side of like what happens around Coachella, and just like how, just like the brands are really involved. Like, because we would ask people like, because you my head hurts when you go in there from just being like, what is happening? Like, because you just see like this is costing a ton of money. Like staff of what, 100 at least.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I mean, also like I was like the weekend one, we went to to a house of a German, pretty known. I wouldn't call him. I guess he's in a way an influencer, but he's also a photographer. He's an artist. He's a cool guy. Shout out to Paul Ripke, but he invited us, and we did a little interview there, and Joplyn played some stuff with him because he's also interested in DJing, as a radio show and all that stuff. But they were also telling us, we're gonna go to the Perfumery Douglas house later on. So there's all these brands that can't get inside the Coachella or don't want to be inside. So they rent out all these mansions around Indio, and then they throw their own parties there. They invite the influencers. You get styling there, and then there's such a branded industry, because I think everyone wants to have that Coachella sort of person, like, or target audience in a way.
Because, but you already have like people there. You just need to filter and funnel them to somewhere else.
Yeah, somewhere else. So that was fascinating. And then, of course, the people at the Zanyara thing, they want to be extra special because it was free. It was like sponsored by Grey Goose and Patron and all that stuff. Like, so you had free alcohol everywhere, but then there was still like tables you can buy, and that people bought was sold out, where you probably had to pay at least whatever, 50 grand, 20 for 30, 50 grand just to have the table, and then with the alcohol, and
that's free,
and
like,
which is a free, like
10 feet away,
which was like,
but you're buying it for status.
You're buying it for status. You have your own table, you can sit, and you attract your party crowd there, So it was interesting to see like who was there, but it was very opposite then to the more cool club underground.
They did a good job of filtering, because that could have easily, they weren't staffed for things to get out of hand, I don't think. Like,
no.
They definitely filtered, like everyone was pretty calm and chill, and no one was rowdy. No one was like...
But I heard a lot of people heard about the party, came to the door, and just a lot of people got turned away.
But that's good party management.
So you couldn't just, as a rando, like just show up, be like, hey, I want to get in,
Your friend even showed up in sweatpants and they turned him away.
Exactly. We had a friend, like he came from Coachella, right, obviously, and he was on our guest list for Zanyara, but he got turned away at the door because apparently there was a strict no sweatpants policy. I'm like, okay. And then he went back to the car. Lucky enough, he had like some shorts with him.
Pink shorts,
And then he wore those, and that was totally fine, which was like the joke, Like, like he had nice black sweatpants. And they weren't like a marathon sweatpants. They were like, these fashionable sweatpants.
I think they just wanted to, at a certain point, as like the night goes on, they're just like, they're just turning people
That's
away.
what I heard. Like they turned a lot of people away, even the parties, the nights, the last week and stuff. They tried to make a hard door for it.
Yeah.
Even if you're on the guest list, like, there's no guarantee you're getting in.
Yeah, it's kind of like a will. If you just keep fighting, you can kind of get it.
It's the same way for the Berghain in Berlin. Like, yeah, you're on the guest list, but they still have last call. Like, basically, if they still don't think you fit in and you have the wrong stuff on.
Or if it's too full.
Yeah, it's never too full. I mean, 5,000 people fit in there, but then they can refuse people that are on the guest list of an artist.
Yeah. Well, that's like, they did create, like, I think what they wanted to create, which is like a fun party of like a very exclusive vibe. And you have to filter to make that happen. So whatever they did, we don't actually know their process, but it worked. And they picked good musicians, like Joplyn killed it.
Yeah, and then was Coach.
Can I mention the song she played?
Yeah, I mean, it's still unreleased. We're working on it.
Okay, there's an upcoming song that's like really good that Ton played me in the studio, and I saw Joplyn play it, and like that was like the moment the party shifted. Like you could feel people be like, "What is this song?" And they would walk to the dance floor, and they were like Shazamming it and filming, and they were like, "This is the moment," and she captured that moment.
Yeah, and I think that's so glad because I missed that moment. I was trying to managing stuff and trying to get people in on the people hitting me up on the guest list and stuff. But I think that's still the beauty. Like even at a party like this where it's not really music artist driven, at least you have the ravers, the girls that want to have fun and dance, and they react. Like, and I always say like you can plan a lot of things in this business and you can also put money marketing behind, but the strongest thing is still hopefully will be like your art and the music, and if the music really is that 10% extra special, and you just got to try, obviously. And hopefully, I mean, we thought a lot of songs could break through, but didn't. And then some of the songs broke a little bit through because the ones that we didn't bank on it. So you never know,
Right.
That's a good sign. And that's also the luxury of this club world, where it's the DJ electronic club, because you get to do something in the studio. And even if it's at 80% or whatever, you can test it. And you get an initial feel immediately because the second you play it, you hear it through someone else's ears and eyes. You see it, and then you can adjust to it, and you can really feel like, oh, does this work or not?
Right. You probably instantly. It's kind of like reading like something you wrote out loud. You
exactly.
instantly hear the bad notes.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is not that it has bad notes, but you're just like, oh, this is what it needs.
Yeah. So it's like reading a script, an idea.
Tarantino would call his anyone or like somebody and be like, hey, can I just read this to you over the phone? And obviously it's Tarantino. Everyone's like honored, and he's like just reads it out loud to them. He doesn't need them to say anything. Just by doing that, he's like, okay, I know.
I think and that process all creatives go through, and it's good because like you hear it in that second, you hear it through someone else's, by reading it aloud, by playing it, by testing, you hear it differently. It gives you perspective. I guess. I think, and I think that's the key thing. So
it's kind of like having friends in the studio too. They just be like, yes, this is good.
It's like, remember, I played it to you in the studio also the first time, and then I heard it differently already just playing it to you.
Yeah.
You didn't even say anything, and then now to play it out to live people and get a reaction, that's also like interesting.
But I did say this is the one, like at the time.
You said like this has something.
And this is like me, like far from like techno.
You're not listening to it all day long. You're not part, but you just feel if it has something.
It has something special. Yeah.
We'll see. Like, we'll find out after the summer like, if it worked or not. And also, like, that's for us also the key right now. We do it. I feel like we're on a good journey. Obviously, I mean, we just played Coachella. Let's not be too humble. But also, like, I feel like you got to be humble and grateful still, because like some stuff moves slower, some of them move that. Then there is some more shows obviously this summer coming, but then also some of the records you banked on were not happening. Then they happen, and you also want to have, like, there's so many moving things again, and you just gotta be doing it step by step. But the only thing you really control, which you not really control, but is the creative process and the music you do, So that's why we said, like, let's just focus back to the roots, to the music, because the music changed everything 2-3 years ago. So, and it's easier said than done, because like it's hard to find that mind space to get down again and really focus on the music and try to do something special there, and then use that music, the energy of the music, to hopefully have all the other things that are important.
You'd rather
live show, communication.
Totally.
But I mean, of course, like I think a lot of musicians or music more like DJs. Some DJs stay because they only DJ and they focus on social media and they do it really well and they grow their social media channels, and that's what the people look at, or the promoters or the managers, and they say, hey, this guy is huge, or girl has huge numbers, but then they don't focus on music because maybe they have other people doing it. But if you, it's so tough to be strong in the musically and social media and live.
But which one, like, would you rather that your marketing is catching up to your music, or your music catching up to your marketing?
No, I think but it's
the first one is like you're gonna have way more success.
There's this discussions between managers, and it also depends a little bit on your genre and on your style. Some people like say like, who cares about the music? Like, as we talk about, find your community first. Do whatever you need to be on social media to find a tribe, to build a community, even sometimes as almost like being a comedic musician, whatever, and then we'll find you the right producers and right songs. And that's an approach that a lot of people, and then sometimes I feel it works.
I'm sure it works, but you guys are so much more authentic.
Exactly. It depends on who you are and what and then you got to look at the artist. If I found a perfect DJ who's just not a real good musician or producer, but he's a great DJ and he's a great persona, then I would probably market it that way as a manager. Yeah. But if you find someone that's all about the music, the songs, and writing, and really authentic musical expression, then you should start with the music, obviously, and then let hopefully the marketing, because
that's hard. Like, it's easy. It might seem easy relative to where you are right now, but like for people, think about how much talent you need just to create good music, and how much people just don't have that.
Yeah. I think
could never get there.
Yeah, so I think that's the most unique still. Yeah, but sometimes it's discouraging where you see other people who are not even like 10% as musical talented, but they sort of get the better shows, make more money already, are more successful on social media. But then it's always like, are you playing a short game? Are you running a sprint? Exactly. Are you running a marathon? You know, like if you really, and also like it's not about only this. Like it's like what you really love and what's your thing, you know, like.
But there'll always be someone getting things that you would have wanted or feeling course, like, and because they've angled stuff. But like, long game at the end of the career, who's going to still be there?
Yeah, and who has a catalog then also? Yeah, which is hopefully worth something. We'll see with AI and everything happening.
And there's enough for everyone. Like there was a David Geffen saying, it's like that's why horses wear blinders, so they don't pay attention to the other horse running, because the second they look over there, the horse like trips and falls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So but it's easier said than done, because you automatically, if you're on social media, you're comparing yourself, you're getting compared, you're being compared.
That's why it's so toxic. It's so
toxic. And I mean, but
I love the actors and the people or any artist who's like doing well but not on social media. Like I know. I mean, usually they've made it before social media, but
they're old. They're like 50 plus.
You can see like a healthiness in their eyes.
I know, they're like, I don't care about all this stuff. I've made it. I'm doing my thing still. I couldn't care less about social media.
Yeah.
And also like, and I mean, it's really, that's the main gamble, the main issue with most of the new artists also, I feel like, because they are expected to be social media masters when they really actually just wanted to write songs, sing, and be on stage, you know. And it's like, and it's some of these artists, like it wears them down, you know, like it's a real problem. You know?
It is a problem because it's not innocent anymore. It's not just I post something and those days are 10 years
gone,
ago. Now it's like
it's a whole team and strategic.
It's a created. It's a content creation machine that's not satisfied from the innocence of just posting.
And the thing is, I always say, like, it goes back to, you don't really own anything if you do it, like, let's say on the usual ones like TikTok or Instagram, for the big ones right now, because you reach people, but you don't know who they really are. You don't know their names. You don't have their email. You don't have their cell phone. You don't know where they're from, really. You know, like, you have a little bit analytics, but they don't give you this information. Basically, it's a data game, right?
And it's amorphous because the algorithm changes and who you reach from a post changes.
So I think, like, I mean, we talked about this in those other episodes. But our mid or long term goal is to actually know our customers, know your fans, and
phone numbers,
emails, create a real WhatsApp group, a real community. Go back to the email newsletter thing where we're starting. I've seen it more and more, like artists are going back to the good old newsletter email, like, hey, sign up to my newsletter, because they want to reach their fans directly, like James Blake just did it, right?
It's still the most powerful reach.
Yeah, exactly. And then but then of course, like you can't just not be on social media, but you have to have a second strategy to build a community. And also these, like all these Asian community, Korean, especially in K-pop, they've built all these super fan apps already, and so they know exactly who their customers are. They can target them, and they basically and they can market to them perfectly. Like they're a step ahead. And then all these labels now, Universal, Warner, they all talk about the super fans, and because they feel like, which makes probably sense, like you can probably make more money. All they care about is money, obviously, and is from more selected super fans. Like 10,000 super fans would probably generate more money than 1 million casual ones, which you can't reach or whatever.
Well, feed them all. Like take one business that's servicing fans and segment it. Be like, I have super fans here. I have people who are generally interested, people who buy once a year.
Exactly. Yeah. But the focus seems to be on super fans, because that's where the least saturation is. Like I think that's why everyone's trying to get
they can never get enough. The top super fans, they'll take everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So they spend 100x than a normal fan. So I
wonder if it is that big.
Yeah, it is. I think I've read some studies. That's why everyone's into. That's the big latest trend right now in the music business. It's all about super fans.
Well, look at.
It always was about super. If you think about
Taylor Swift, it's like a nation of super fans.
I know, it's the Swifties or whatever they call it.
But they'll pay.
Remember, Gaga had her little monsters. There was.
But this is next level.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but everyone had the.
Beyonce had the Beehive.
Yeah, exactly. But and that all.
I think Lady Gaga started it.
Yeah. No, I mean this was from day one. I think like even the Beatles probably had their super fans.
But they weren't calling them.
No, they were called fan clubs. But then,
but I think Lady Gaga's the first one who named them. You're the little monsters.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You name them and you address them differently, so they feel special too.
Yeah.
I think. And that's the key, I think.
Does Taylor Swift do that? Does she call them the Swifties, or is that like the public?
I don't follow her.
Me either. I don't know.
So, but I'm sure she does.
But there's limitless appetite for her concert tickets.
I know.
Like,
and also she broke some Spotify records against her. It's crazy because I couldn't care less personally, but that's
you're not the target demo.
Yeah, I'm not the target demo.
Neither
also,
am I.
like, also she made it in a time like there were millions of major label dollars put into her career, so she's not an indie artist that broke this big, so there is a need for global superstars, and there will always be one in a way, for there's a target audience there, and also going to be enough, there's going to be a need for major labels to do that. It's just going to be less and less, I think.
And she's 5'11".
That's tall, right? Yeah. She's tall. Yeah, I'm 5'11", right? Yeah. Exactly. Like, that's 180 centimeters, I think.
Yeah, there's a photo of like Kanye reaching to take the award from her.
Yeah, and then what else is new on the
we have the Netflix
side?
comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Netflix is a Joke festival.
Yeah, plug that a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna have May 2nd to 12th, like shows every night as part of the fest. It's super exciting. The Comedy Bunker just got added as one of the Netflix fest shows.
Should be. Yeah.
It's on the May 12th, which is the last day, and it'll be kind of like a little part of our celebration. We're gonna
that's
have
all at the Elysian Theater.
All Elysian. We have we're gonna have like some pre and post parties with beer and wine. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So definitely come check that out.
Check it out.
Yeah. And the first 50 people, we're going to give them a special reward when they come to the show. Yeah. So, yeah.
And where would they check this out? Like
ElysianTheater.com or my Instagram at Latif Tayor has all the links to that. The links, right? Yeah. To the Comedy Bunker show and other shows we have going on.
Nice. So. Yeah, I mean, for us right now, I mean, I'm glad we got to do this because we like, I mean, let's talk about Coachella a little bit more. Like, I mean, we just talked about Zanyara, right? I mean, the next days, what was your general feel? Like, I mean, the weather was beautiful. It was almost too hot, but apparently it was hotter than last year's. But
I had like really bad, I mean, this is really lame, but really bad allergies from the whole thing. Like it was like an allergy superstorm of like pollen and dust, but you can probably still hear it in my voice. But It was great. I mean, my personal highlight, like other than Joplyn, was the No Doubt show. Like, if you describe exactly how to do something, like I would say that just watch what they did. Like perfect visuals, like just perfect little bits of songs. The way their catalog arced into like old stuff, new stuff, and then ended with like I'm Just a Girl, and they're like kind of ended the show. Hold on, and it kind of they were like did I'm Just a Girl, and then you're like okay, and then you take a pause long enough, and then hit you with the chords from Don't Speak, and the place
people were crying.
People
I saw men
nuts.
crying for Don't Speak. Like I was like, wow, okay.
It was it was.
For me, like I didn't know that her voice, like a talking voice, is that annoying. Like because she just yells at you the whole time. I mean, she has that punk energy. Which I thought like was a little bit too much for me. So that's why I sort of halfway the show I sort of went to another stage, because she's just like yelling at you the whole time. But I think it was a success and people loved it. For me, some of the musical highlights. I mean, the first weekend when Lana Del Rey played, I mean,
I missed that one.
Then she brought out Billie Eilish, right? And that was pretty cool because they sang like 2 songs together. I think they sang Ocean Eyes together, like a Billie Eilish song, and then they sang Video Games together, like a Lana song. And those 2 songs are just great songs. And just to see them close and up front perform them and be really good live singers, I have to say, like they know what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, Lana had her period where it was like kind of like there were some videos like where she didn't hold it up like live vocal, but she must have taken a lot of vocal whatever. Like her voice and her vocals were flawless. Yeah. Live. And then Billie Eilish threw some parties at the Do Lab stage, and that was kind of fun. And another highlight, I mean, I guess shows also our age and our upbringing, but it's like Justice was really fun. You know, like
they were fun.
They were gone for a while, but just that filter, high energy French house rave, new rave vibe was like, I think it's also could come back in a way, because it's been gone for a while. That sound like everything comes back, you know, and it felt like not only there was some Gen Z people there, you know, people were digging it, and the light show, the visuals was amazing. Then I think for me personally, a highlight was also Jungle, you know, because they're just a type, really tight band. I was just so happy. Yeah, that's happy, good, feel good. Like it's just like covers and warms up your soul, you know. Like I was like, this is beautiful, you know. Like it's music, it fit the whole Californian backdrop and everything. Then this hipster band Krung Bin was fun, you know, like they were kind of groovy, vibey. And then the craziest, I think, for me was definitely Gesaffelstein, another French.
It was too much for me.
It was like
I just felt like the soundtrack of John Wick 4.
I know.
Which it probably was. But
it was, and it's like, and it got fast and harder. I think I've never seen a show of an artist like he basically held up a huge middle finger to everyone, and just the middle finger just grew bigger and bigger.
Why? Why do you feel that?
Because it was in your face. He couldn't care less what people think, and it was no compromises, no holds barreled or whatever you say.
But like I don't see any of that.
Yeah, I see that because it's like when you feel like when you're that hard, and then also like that consequent in your beats and in your presentation, and then like Misha said something interesting. He's like, he started at level 9, went to level 10. Everyone was like, oh my god, it's too much. And then he went to level 11, which is doesn't even
like
exist.
It was too hard, too fast. Like, is it tempo? Is it
it's like the whole attitude, the whole way it was in a form, I called it in the end, was high concept French art. Like, it wasn't necessarily music at some point. It was more like, I'm gonna explore what I can do with crazy sounds, rhythm, and
but it was still rhythm and beat.
Yeah, I'm just exaggerating a little bit, but it was still like, it wasn't really danceable. It wasn't listenable. It was like concept.
It was score.
Art.
It felt like score.
Yeah, it was concept art. It was, and it was different. Like, it was not to. He just did his thing. I felt, you know, like he didn't care like if people actually liked it or could dance to it. Like, it was the opposite of Jungle. Or like, you know,
it's interesting because like my knowing nothing about this artist before that moment, it feels like he cares a lot, or they care a lot, or whoever it is a group, is it a person?
That's one guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he cares a lot, I think, to showcase how extreme you can go, and to showcase how screw you attitude can be on steroids.
Yeah, you must need to know this type of music to pick up on this.
Yeah, I guess exactly.
Yeah.
For you, I guess at some point it just all sounded like noise. But for me, like it was like, okay, wow.
Maybe I didn't stay long enough because it started off just sounding like score for John Wick.
I stayed the full hour.
Yeah.
And in the end, it was the last 2-3 songs was too much also for me. And I had just to laugh about it because it was so ridiculous that you looked at it and you're like, what the hell is this? This is crazy, you know? But then you got to respect it. And then even like some friends we took along, they never heard of it. They were like shocked first. You could see the horror in their eyes. And then they held their ears together. It's too loud. It's too annoying. But at the end of the show, he's like, okay, wow, I got to give it up to him. Like, I've never seen anything and heard anything like this before, and I probably never will. And it's like no compromise, and it's like he's doing his thing. And I mean, there's a reason why artists like The Weeknd and all these people like want to work with this guy. And I'm sure like he has like score.
So
requests.
He's big.
He's huge. I mean, otherwise he wouldn't be like he was almost the headliner at that stage, the outdoors, and there were like 20,000 people there.
Yeah,
and they didn't leave.
Right,
they stayed there, you know. And I just checked, like some of his songs he did with Weeknd have like 800 million streams.
Really?
Yeah. Like so, he's huge.
Wow.
And so I think like,
and he's a French guy with a German name.
Yeah, I think I read up on it. He wanted to do something that sounded hard German, but also have the Einstein in it. So it's like Gesaffelstein. Also, like Gesaffel sounds like pretty hard German.
Is it a real word?
I don't think so. Maybe there's a city called Saffel or something, but it's not a real word. No, it's a made up word.
Like Häagen-Dazs.
Yeah, I guess. Is it? No, Häagen-Dazs, is it made up?
Yeah. He just wants something that sounded Dutch.
Danish, I guess.
Or whatever.
It's okay. Anyways, yeah, Gesaffelstein is made up fully. Yeah, anyway, so that was interesting, and then we drove home on a Sunday night, and then we lost. I'm not gonna name names, but one of our friends had a little bit too much fun, and got lost. And he was like, "Hey, we'll meet you back here like in half hour." And then he was lost for 2 hours. He couldn't find a trailer, and we left late, but we all made it back.
Yeah. That last Sunday was great to see Joplyn in the air-cooled stage, and I saw you talking to this guy. I was like, man, that looks like Reggie Watts. I was like, whatever. And Reggie Watts is like a good friend of the Elysian, and then you're like, I just talked to Reggie Watts. And he's like, he's going on stage, and then we went backstage, and he went on stage and did like a DJ set for who?
For like Flight Facilities, Australian bands, and he knows them, he's friends with them, and they just ask him to open up their set for them. So he did like a little looping thing, like joking around. He said something like, I lost my ketamine, where's my ketamine, or something, you know. That's what he said.
I couldn't hear what he was saying.
Yeah, he was saying like, I lost my ketamine, where's my ketamine, on a house beat, and people were just thought it was crazy and funny.
He was talking
looping
and stuff
around.
Yeah.
And so I saw, like, I walked out of Joplyn's set into the backstage, and I saw Reggie Watts. I'm like, this is Reggie Watts. Oh my God, I'm a huge fan of his. And I just chatted him up, you know, like, we talked for a sec. I have a picture with him. So that was my fanboy moment. Yeah. Because he's like, just his brain, and no one, it's so hard to figure out what's going on up there, because his stream of consciousness, his flow, his delivery, he's highly creative. Like,
and he's a big Porsche guy.
Yeah, I know. He's a car guy. Like, it's also like, I have German friends who are in the Porsche community, and he hangs around with them all the time. Like, he drives all these, which you think like doesn't really fit to him, but I guess it.
Well,
everyone has.
I think people, like, once they get into that Porsche community, it becomes its own drug. You kind of get addicted to that.
For sure. Yeah. I don't have a Porsche yet, but maybe one day I'll join the Porsche community.
You borrowed
from my
one,
hometown, you know. It's
you
from
borrowed
Stuttgart.
one from your friend, like a little Boxster, and I still think about driving it. It was so great.
No, I've driven a lot of Porsche because most of my friends have Porsches here, like, and they're all German. Yeah. And it's a Stuttgart hometown pride. Yeah?
But they did this chart of maintenance. I'm gonna rain on the Porsche parade for a second, but it was like annual cost ridiculous. It was like 700 for Tesla, and it was like 10,000 for Porsche.
All the friends I know have a Porsche that's always in the garage, and they have to find a specialized guy who fixes stuff. Like, it's not, you can't just go anywhere.
The only car more expensive than Porsche to maintain was the Land Rover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then to wrap it all up, I think I have actually 2 German-English ones.
Let's do it.
That I think are quite funny. So the first one is like, how did we do this again? So I say the German word, right? And then explain it.
Yeah.
So there's one German-English word that I thought it could fit the category a little bit. Like, so the German word is called Schenkelklopfer. So Schenkelklopfer, if you translate it literally, you try to say it first.
Schenkelklopfer?
Klopfer. Yeah, it's basically a thigh knocker.
Okay.
Like Schenkel means thigh and Klopfer means knocker. So it's basically you laugh so hard and you sort of like laugh and you knock on your thigh.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and they have knee slapper. They have that.
Okay, see, that's a knee slapper. I didn't know this. So the English word would be a knee slapper.
Yeah.
But the little one would be a thigh knocker.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes like you use it also like for like if something's actually not funny, and you're like, haha, very Schenkelklopfer.
Yeah, that's
like
how you do it
like
here.
A dad joke.
Yeah.
That's like
it's kind of corny.
It's a corny joke.
Yeah,
And you see like it's a
thigh slapper. Yeah.
Thigh knocker.
Thigh knocker. Yeah.
And the other one is called I say the German word first. It's called Backpfeifengesicht.
Backpfeifengesicht. I feel like we did this one.
Really?
Don't tell me what it is.
It's I think maybe, I don't know. It's if you translate it literally, it would be bagpipe slap face.
Bagpipes, like the Scottish,
like the in Scottish, slap face. So basically, if someone annoys you so much, you just want to hit his face.
Yeah, with bagpipes.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, like.
Or they sound like bagpipes.
I guess they sound like I don't know.
Everyone hates bagpipes.
Everyone hates bagpipes. Maybe that's the reason.
Yeah.
But it's a Backpfeifen because it's like you just want to slap that face, you know, like it's a Backpfeifengesicht. But a Backpfeife, no, I know what it is, because a Backpfeife, it's a bagpipe, but basically those if you have a face and you sort of exactly go like this, that's like, and like then you sort of it would blow into a flute or a bagpipe. That's why you have a little bump on your face and you want to slap that bump away.
Okay.
Bagpipes.
But essentially they're annoying.
They're annoying.
Okay.
Yeah, they're super annoying. And then you're just like, hate this guy with a Backpfeifengesicht. I just want to slap him.
Those are two good German English.
Very aggressive ones this time.
I want to end with a little story that I think is funny. So we were I think it was at the Zendaya or Zanyara. Yeah. And this guy comes up to me and he's like, I've seen you in Berlin. I've seen you in Ibiza.
Miami.
I've seen you in Miami. Who are you? I'm a photographer. And he took a photo of you and you're like, because you're just like, I told you, you're already a brand. Like people.
It's funny. Yeah. No, so we became friends. Like he's seen me apparently in Ibiza and Miami in LA at Coachella. And he really came up to me like, I see you everywhere. Who are you? Yeah. I'm like, so I had my little
like, don't worry about it.
Star moment. So remember, it's DJ hat glasses.
DJ hat glasses. Yeah. But let's do this more often.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just try. We'll just try, and we'll be in the flow. Next one will definitely be I'll be back in Europe, so we'll have to do it remote again. But you know, like once I'm a little bit more hanging around here, I guess. I mean, I was here the whole time, but it was just so busy.
Yeah.
But this is always fun. It's always catching up and stuff, you know. And we shared experience together.
Totally, yeah. It was a perfect time, and we're gonna try and fuse this into the It's Show Business podcast so that I can keep the weekly, and that you're not pressured to do it every time until you're cut all German ties and move here.
Exactly.
And you're ready.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
All right. Cheers.
Take care.
Tschüssi.
Techno.